How about that? Michigan wins. It is the Michigan football post-game show. I'm your host, James Yoder, doing it from home as we've done most of this season. But what a game by Michigan. Where the hell did that come from? I don't know if I've ever had a two-game stretch where I've been more surprised in my history of a Michigan football fan, which is going on more than 30 years, that I can even come close to remembering, as Michigan wins this one 19-13, completely shuts down the Alabama offense. Just turnover after turnover after turnover by Jalen Milroe and this tied offense in the first quarter. Michigan gets out to the 16-0 lead, hangs on 19-13. There was a time in the end of the first half that you thought Michigan might be coming apart at the seams as Alabama scores a touchdown, and then Michigan gives the ball back, and Sherrone Moore, when it looked like Alabama was ready to just go into the halftime, right? He calls a timeout at 3rd and 1. Alabama gets a big run from Jalen Milroe, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're going to score a touchdown here. It's going to be 16-14. They get a field goal. Michigan goes into half 16-10, holds on. Both teams get a fourth quarter field goal. Michigan goes up 19-10. Alabama gets the field goal with what was like 5 or 6 minutes left, and then Michigan holds inside the 20, 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10, 4th and 10, gets the stop right after Ernest Hausman almost had a game-ending interception for Michigan. The Wolverines actually get the win there. So a lot of things to talk about here as we end this 2024 season, a season that I think I'm going to look back on and be pretty proud of as, as a program, as you're rooting for this team, as a fan, because if you think about what they ended with, they scored 50 points on Northwestern. Then they went in to Columbus, 20-point underdogs, and beat Ohio State 13-10. And then as 15, 16-point underdogs without 12 starters. This Michigan team beats an Alabama team that was at full strength, right? They didn't have all the opt-outs like Michigan. No Mason Graham, obviously no Kenneth Grant, no Will Johnson, no Colston Loveland. But it went on from there, right? No Makari Page. You're missing 2 offensive linemen. You're missing the Don. You're missing Kalel Mullings. This was just a great showing. No Josiah Stewart for Michigan. A great showing by this team. So some things I want to point out here. Derrick Moore, a couple sacks, fumble. I think it was a fumble recovery, or it was either fumble recovery or a cause of fumble. TJ Guy had himself a hell of a game, right? So those 2 guys are back next year, feeling really good about that pass rush for Michigan. Even with Jayshon Barham apparently going to move to the edge. I'm not sure if he's going to work in concert with those guys or if he's going to try and replace one. Maybe TJ Guy moves to the inside. We'll see how it shakes out. Rayshon, Trap, Money, Benny. Hell of a game for him as well, filling in for Michigan's 2 superstar interior guys, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. And a guy I thought has done well all year, and I wish they would have given him more playing time, is Brandon Hillman. I'm telling you this, Brandon Hillman will be a all Big Ten first-team player before he's done here, if not in All-American. The Michigan Football Report is presented by Game Time. It's the app I used to go to Michigan, Texas, to go to Michigan National Championship game last year. The Game Time app is making lasting memories with family and friends. If you use Game Time, it has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets even easier to see your favorite teams play. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Now, this Michigan football season is over. They beat Alabama and Ohio State, potentially 2 of the 3, 2 of the 4 best programs in college football history. Certainly the best 2 of the last 15 years. Beat them back-to-back to end this year. Beat them to end last year. So maybe Michigan's national champions once again, but you can be the national champion of the ticketing game with Game Time. You want to go see the Michigan basketball team looking good so far this year? Game Time. Want to check out the Detroit Lions, going to make a Super Bowl run this year? It is Game Time. I love their lowest price guarantee. You get 110% credit back of the difference if you find the tickets lower somewhere else. All-in pricing. You don't get hit with fees at checkout when you toggle on all-in pricing with Game Time. And seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHATSPORTS at CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account, redeem the code CHATSPORTS, download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So Michigan was playing the second half without also Davis Warren. And one thing I thought was kind of peculiar or interesting or just troubling a little bit is the fact that Davis Warren went out and we didn't see Jaden Davis, right? Who came in was Alex Orji, gave Orji props. He's transferring, stuck with his team, didn't go seek greener pastures and skip the bowl game. And lo and behold, Michigan needed him. He led Michigan to a bowl win over Alabama. What a way to go out for Alex Orji. But the fact that they didn't put Jaden Davis in the game, he was there at this time last year. So he went through an entire spring practice in Michigan, an entire 12-game regular season, and then 15 bowl practices, and you still don't have enough to put him in a game. I thought it was troubling because, maybe they thought Alex Orji gave Michigan a better chance to win. And if that's the case, okay, cool. But if you think about the future of this program, which is what you should be thinking about when you're playing in a bowl game where you've got 12 starters sitting out, then you've got to be thinking about, well, Jaden Davis should be competing for the starting quarterback job starting tomorrow at this team for the 2025 team, a team that goes on the road to Oklahoma the second week of the year. But they didn't see enough of him. 15 spring practices, all last spring, all summer, all fall, all 15 bowl practices. Didn't see enough in Jaden Davis to put him in this game, which frankly I thought was surprising. How about Jordan Marshall? Number 23 carries today, 100 yards. I'll tell you what, he kind of started reminding me of like Chris Perry or Maurice Clarett, just where he'd be able to hit and break off guys. And Chris Perry, the number 23, Clarett, just the like muscular, the physical style running, the bowling ball style running that Maurice Clarett used to run with at Ohio State back in 2002. So big time day game for Jordan Marshall. As I said, 23 for 100, a long of 24. I thought also Fredrick Moore had showed some promise at the wide receiver position. What did he end up with today? I mean, 3 catches, 37 yards, and that 1 touchdown, which ultimately, could be considered the difference in the game. Obviously, Dominic Zvada with his 4 field goals was a huge difference with Michigan, getting them on the board early and often after those turnovers by Alabama early on in the game. Just a couple other things here. Just nitpicking here, right? Michigan was 16, 17-point underdog, so there's not too much nitpicking we're going to do here. But in the second half, I can't remember, it was the third, must be the end of the third quarter. Why are you letting Alex Orji pass on 3rd and long, which ultimately ended up in an interception? Why are you doing it? I don't understand at all. I want to ask you guys a question, though. Let me know who you think will be the starting quarterback for this team game 1 next year. You've got Mikey Keene coming in from Fresno State. You got no-show Jaden Davis. You got Bryce Underwood and maybe Davis Warren coming back for a 5th year, national champions. So let me know who starts game 1 for this team in 2025. Comment down below. I was just thinking about this as the game was ending. Like, if you told me Michigan was going to beat Ohio State and beat Alabama and beat Kalen DeBoer to end the season, I mean, that sounds like 2023, right? Beat Ohio State, you beat Alabama, you beat Kalen DeBoer in Washington. Now he's with Alabama. It's the same result basically as the end of last year. I think Michigan is basically, in my mind, is back-to-back national champions, especially if Georgia wins it, right? If Georgia wins it, if Ohio State wins it, I think you're crowning Michigan back-to-back national champions because you beat Alabama, who beat Georgia. You beat Ohio State if they win it all. That's just all I'm going to say on that one. So big-time surprising win. Wink Martindale, really excited for him coming back next year because there were guys at some point I'm like, who is that? Who's 13 again? Who's this guy? Like, so many players were out. So many players were missing. You had to remind yourself of what this team was dealing with, which is basically the backups almost at half the positions or more. If you think about it from a 2023 perspective, most of the guys playing today were either not in the roster last year in 23, the national championship team, or were 3rd string, right? Think about that. And that team just beat an Alabama team that was, a snap or 2 away from being in the college football playoff currently, who was playing with a fully loaded roster, who tried and wanted to win this game. It wasn't like they had a ton of opt-outs. Michigan was the team that had all the opt-outs, and they still won the game. Finishing a year like this, when you lost 5 games, and you had a couple inexcusable ones. Illinois, Washington were certainly inexcusable. And he could have beat Indiana, right? So a couple plays here and there. Michigan could have gone 10-2. Just thinking about that, how crazy that might sound. But this is now a team that goes 8-5 and ending the year 50-burger in Northwestern, beating Ohio State on the road again, beat Ohio State again, Bosa, comment below, and then beating Alabama in the bowl game. We've got 12 starters out. Shout out to Sherrone Moore. He clearly did not let this thing get away with him. And ever since Bryce Underwood committed, it's been nothing but wins for this program. I think you're going to see a few more in the transfer portal in the coming days. That wide receiver from UConn looks like he's about to commit, and others. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't. It's the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, as always, James Yoder. Comment your reactions to today's game down below, and we'll get it into the offseason now, baby. Michigan 2025 national champs. We'll see. Bryce Underwood, freshman Heisman. We will see. Go Blue.